Yasmin Farouk loved the night shift. No crowds, no heat, just her and Cairo's forgotten buildings. As a plant pathologist, she documented invasive species growing in abandoned places. Tonight's location was special, an Ottoman mansion hidden in the old quarter. Her motorcycle's engine echoed through empty alleyways as she arrived. The building stood silent, its walls telling stories of past grandeur. Yasmin switched on her flashlight and entered through a broken gate. In the courtyard, something made her stop. Plants grew in a perfect spiral pattern, each species precisely placed. This wasn't random growth. Nature didn't work this way. Her scientific mind raced with questions. How could plants arrange themselves so perfectly? She knelt down, adjusting her protective glasses for a closer look. The spiral seemed to pulse with life in the moonlight. After 6 months of routine surveys, Yasmin had finally found something extraordinary. The measuring tape confirmed what seemed impossible. Each plant sat exactly 30 centimeters from its neighbor. The spiral followed the golden ratio, nature's perfect mathematical pattern, but someone had to have planted these. Yasmin photographed every angle, her camera flash briefly illuminating the courtyard. That's when she noticed the stones. Carved symbols bordered the plant arrangement. Hieroglyphs? Here? She'd studied enough Egyptian history to recognize basic symbols. These meant life, growth, and something she couldn't translate. Her notebook filled with sketches and measurements. Each plant species was different, some medicinal, others she'd never seen before. The arrangement felt ancient yet alive. Who maintained this garden? The building had been empty for decades according to city records. She touched a leaf gently. It was healthy, thriving even. No water source was visible, no irrigation system, yet these plants flourished in Cairo's dry climate. Yasmin's motorcycle wove through Cairo's sleeping streets. The city transformed at night. Busy markets became silent corridors. Ancient stones whispered old secrets. She'd been exploring these forgotten places for months, but tonight felt different. That spiral pattern haunted her thoughts. In her 6 years studying plants, she'd never seen anything like it. The night air carried jasmine scents mixed with distant cooking spices. Cairo never truly slept, just dozed between prayers. Her job existed because modern city growth created perfect conditions for invasive species. Abandoned buildings became botanical time capsules, but that spiral suggested intention, not accident. As she passed under a stone archway, movement caught her eye. Was that a garden on that rooftop? Green shadows against stars. She'd mapped dozens of buildings, but suddenly the city seemed full of hidden life. Her scientific training demanded investigation. Tomorrow she'd return with better equipment. Tonight had opened a door to mysteries she hadn't known existed. Home meant switching from field researcher to detective. Yasmin's apartment doubled as a makeshift laboratory. Plant specimens covered every surface, pressed flowers, seed samples, soil tests. She uploaded tonight's photos, the spiral pattern filling her laptop screen. The mathematical precision astounded her. She cross-referenced the plant species with her botanical database. 3 weren't in any record. How was that possible? Every known plant in Egypt had been catalogued. Her coffee grew cold as she worked. The hieroglyphs puzzled her most. She'd photographed similar symbols at other sites, but never paid attention. Now she wondered if she'd missed something important. Her notebook from previous surveys revealed a pattern. Several abandoned buildings had unusual plant arrangements. She dismissed them as random growth. But what if they weren't random? What if someone was actively cultivating these spaces? The thought challenged everything she knew about urban plant growth. Dawn prayers echoed across Cairo as Amara Hassan began her daily ritual. 78 years hadn't slowed her careful movements among the plants. This rooftop garden existed outside official records, like many things in the old city. She whispered to each plant meant for digestion, coriander for the blood, plants her grandmother had taught her to grow. The city below started its noisy awakening, but up here peace reigned. Amara knew every building where the old garden survived. She'd spent 60 years protecting this knowledge. The young researcher had finally noticed the mansion's spiral. It was time. The girl had careful hands and curious eyes. Good signs. But would she understand the responsibility? These weren't just plants. They were living libraries, each species carrying centuries of wisdom. Amara selected seeds from her precious collection. Tonight she would return to the mansion. The spiral pattern needed new guardians. Knowledge survived only through careful passing between generations. Dr. Khaled Nazir stared at Yasmin's preliminary report. After 20 years teaching botanical sciences, he recognized when students stumbled onto something significant. The spiral pattern images troubled him. He'd seen similar arrangements decades ago when starting his own research. His mentor had warned him away from investigating further. Some knowledge protects itself, the old professor had said. Now his best student had found the gardens. Khaled faced an impossible choice. Academic integrity demanded supporting Yasmin's research. But he knew powerful interests wanted these sites forgotten. Urban development meant billions in contracts. Old buildings hiding botanical treasures didn't fit modern Cairo's plans. His office felt smaller as he weighed options. Yasmin deserved the truth, but truth carried dangers. His fingers traced the spiral pattern on the screen. Mathematical perfection in organic form. He'd spent years pretending not to see what bloomed in shadows. Perhaps it was time to stop pretending. He reached for his phone with trembling hands. Farid al-Rashid knew every shadow in these buildings. 20 years of night patrols had taught him the difference between wind sounds and footsteps. But his real job wasn't keeping vandals out. It was keeping the gardens safe. His father had passed him this responsibility, as his grandfather had before. Each building held different treasures. The Ottoman mansion grew medicinal plants. The Mamluk workshop preserved ancient grains. The French colonial villa hid fruit trees from pharaonic times. Farid's rounds weren't random. He followed patterns established generations ago, checking water systems hidden in old walls, adjusting mirror angles for reflected moonlight. City officials thought him just another security guard. They never suspected his true purpose. Tonight felt different. The young researcher's motorcycle had disturbed the usual quiet. Change was coming. Farid touched the keyring at his belt keys to doors that didn't officially exist. Perhaps it was time to open them. The UV light transformed everything. What seemed ordinary in daylight revealed extraordinary properties in ultraviolet. Yasmin gasped as the spiral pattern began glowing. Each plant species emitted different wavelengths, blues, greens, subtle purples. Her specialized camera captured what human eyes couldn't fully see. The plants weren't just arranged in patterns, they were communicating through biochemical signals. Her spectroscope confirmed it. These species were sharing nutrients underground, supporting each other in ways modern botany barely understood. The hieroglyphs made more sense now. They weren't just labels, they were instructions, growing guides encoded in stone. But who could read them? Her equipment detected root systems extending far beyond the courtyard. The entire building's foundation was interwoven with plant networks. This wasn't abandoned. It was actively alive. She photographed everything, her excitement building. This discovery could revolutionize urban agriculture. Cities could grow food in forgotten spaces. But first, she needed to understand who created this system and why they kept it secret. "Did you disturb the pattern?" Amara's voice came soft but urgent from the shadows. Yasmin jumped, nearly dropping her camera. The elderly woman moved into the moonlight, her presence both gentle and commanding. "I've been waiting for you to find this place," Amara continued, studying Yasmin's equipment with knowing eyes. "Most people walk past our gardens seeing only weeds and decay, but you see differently." Yasmin's scientific training warred with curiosity. "Who are you? What is this place?" Amara smiled, touching a plant that seemed to lean toward her weathered hand. "I am a keeper, like my mother before me. These gardens are libraries, young one. Each plant holds knowledge that textbooks forgot." She opened her leather pouch, revealing seeds that gleamed like jewels. "Your instruments show you the science, but there is older wisdom here. Are you ready to learn?" The question hung in the jasmine-scented air, heavy with possibilities. Behind the dry fountain, Amara pressed specific stones in sequence. Ancient mechanisms groaned as a passage opened. "Few know these ways exist," she said, leading Yasmin into flickering lamplight. The hidden chamber took Yasmin's breath away. Plants grew in terrace levels, each tier representing different dynasties of Egyptian agriculture. Cultivation tools from various eras hung like honored artifacts. This is one of 30 such rooms across Cairo, Amara explained. We've preserved what others abandoned. Drought-resistant grains the pharaohs grew, medicinal herbs that cured plagues, foods that fed armies crossing deserts. Yasmin recognized some species from ancient texts, plant scholars believed extinct. But why hide this knowledge? She asked. Amara's expression grew sad. Because powerful people profit from forgetting. Industrial agriculture wants farmers dependent on imported seeds. Our plants grow without chemicals, survive without constant water. Such independence threatens profits. The old woman selected a particularly vibrant specimen. This wheat fed Egypt for 3,000 years. Now they say it's worthless. Farid's arrival didn't surprise Amara. She found the spiral, the old woman said simply. The security guard studied Yasmin with eyes that had judged many characters over the years. A scientist, he observed. That could be useful or dangerous. Yasmin felt the weight of their assessment. These people had risked much to preserve these gardens. I want to understand, she said honestly. My research was supposed to document invasive species, but this is intentional preservation. Farid's expression softened slightly. My family has guarded these buildings for 3 generations. Not from thieves, from forgetting. Each garden holds pieces of Egypt's agricultural soul. He gestured to the thriving plants. Modern farms fail when water runs low. These survive. When diseases destroy monocultures, our diversity endures. We're not just growing plants, we're growing resilience. The 3 stood among green life that connected past to future, each understanding their role in the chain of knowledge. Each seed tells a story, Amara explained, showing Yasmin proper storage techniques. Temperature, moisture, time all must be perfect. My grandmother taught me to read seeds like books. Yasmin's notebooks filled with revelations. These methods predated modern agriculture by millennia, yet remained remarkably effective. The spiral pattern? She asked. Amara smiled. Ancient wisdom hidden in plain sight. The pattern maximizes growth while minimizing water needs. Plants support each other. Tall ones shade delicate ones, deep roots bring water to shallow ones. The wall charts showed similar patterns from different eras, Pharaonic, Islamic, Coptic, all preserving the same core knowledge. We adapt to survive, Amara continued. When authorities banned traditional farming, we moved to abandoned buildings. When they forgot these places existed, we thrived. Yasmin began understanding the deeper significance. This wasn't just botanical preservation, it was cultural resistance through roots and leaves. How many people know about this? She asked. Amara's eyes twinkled with secret knowledge. Dawn crept across Cairo's skyline as they emerged from the garden chamber. The city looked different to Yasmin now, not abandoned ruins but living treasures. There are 12 major sites, Farid explained, pointing to distant neighborhoods. Each specializes in different plant families. Together, they preserve Egypt's complete agricultural heritage. Amara added, the keepers meet monthly, sharing seeds and knowledge. We've operated this way for generations, invisible to authorities. Yasmin felt the weight of discovery. Her simple research project had uncovered an entire network of botanical guardians. What about my professor? The university? She asked. Farid and Amara exchanged knowing looks. Dr. Nazir knows more than he admits, Farid said carefully. He's kept our secret while waiting for the right student. Perhaps that student is you. The morning call to prayer began echoing across the city. Yasmin realized she stood at a crossroads. She could file a routine report and forget this night, or she could join these guardians of forgotten wisdom. The choice seemed as clear as the brightening sky. You found them. Dr. Nazir's words carried years of hidden knowledge. Yasmin spread her photos across his desk, the spiral, the chamber, the ancient charts. Her professor's hands trembled slightly as he touched each image. 23 years I've known, he admitted. My own mentor showed me sites like these, but he warned me to stay silent. Development contracts, political pressure, academic careers, all threatened by admitting these gardens exist. Yasmin understood his conflict. But they're invaluable for research. Drought-resistant crops, traditional medicine, sustainable agriculture. Exactly why they're dangerous, Nazir interrupted. Companies selling genetically modified seeds don't want farmers knowing traditional varieties work better. Industries built on scarcity can't profit from abundance. He pulled out a locked drawer, revealing his own documentation. I've been waiting for someone with your combination of scientific rigor and open mind. The gardens need academic legitimacy, but carefully. Too much attention brings destruction. The morning sun illuminated possibilities and perils equally. Night after night, Yasmin explored Cairo's hidden botanical network. Each site revealed new wonders. A Coptic church basement grew medicinal herbs monks had cultivated for centuries. A Jewish merchant's abandoned house preserved fruit trees from Solomon's temple. An old mosque's courtyard maintained grains that fed pilgrims crossing deserts. The keepers welcomed her, men and women of various ages and backgrounds, united by purpose. She met Ibrahim, who specialized in legumes that fixed nitrogen naturally. Salma preserved flowers used in ancient perfumes. Young Ahmed maintained vegetables that grew in salinity where modern crops failed. Each garden told stories of adaptation and survival. Plants brought by traders, crusaders, refugees, all found sanctuary in Cairo's forgotten corners. The network wasn't just preserving species, it was maintaining genetic diversity crucial for future food security. Yasmin's documentation grew comprehensive. She developed protocols for cataloguing without compromising secrecy. The responsibility felt immense. Centuries of knowledge now partly rested in her laptop and notebooks. But questions remained. Who started this network, and who threatened its existence? The development company's spotlights destroyed the garden's gentle mystery. Yasmin found herself surrounded by officials studying architectural surveys. Structural assessment confirms it's sound for renovation, the lead developer announced. Luxury condos with historical character. Perfect project. Dr. Nazir arrived breathless, his usual composure shattered. This is an active research site, he protested. My student is conducting important botanical studies. The developer smiled dismissively. Weeds in abandoned buildings. Hardly worth preserving. We have permits to clear everything next month. Yasmin's heart sank watching them trample through the spiral pattern, oblivious to its significance. Amara and Farid watched from shadows, their life's work threatened by spreadsheets and profit margins. Someone reported illegal cultivation, an official mentioned. Anonymous tip about unauthorized agricultural activity in historical sites. We must investigate. Nazir caught Yasmin's eye. Someone had betrayed the network. The gardens survived centuries of change, but might not survive modern greed. Yasmin realized she needed to act quickly to save not just plants, but irreplaceable knowledge. The emergency gathering filled the largest hidden chamber. Garden keepers who normally worked alone came together, their faces etched with concern. Yasmin counted 43 people, more than she'd imagined. Amara called for attention. The developers found 3 sites already. We must assume all locations are compromised. Murmurs of distress rippled through the group. Some families had protected these gardens for 10 generations. I take responsibility, Farid said heavily. My security routes might have been tracked, but Ibrahim shook his head. We all knew this day might come. The question is our response. Ideas flew, relocating plants, creating new hidden sites, legal challenges. But everyone understood the core problem. Without the buildings, the cultivation system would collapse. These weren't portable gardens, but living ecosystems. Yasmin stepped forward nervously. What if we didn't hide anymore? What if we proved these gardens' value publicly? The room fell silent. Going public meant risking everything. But hiding had only delayed the inevitable. The choice hung heavy as lamp smoke in the still air. Coffee cups accumulated as Yasmin built her case. Each garden's data told compelling stories. Crop yields without fertilizers, disease-resistant without pesticides, water efficiency that modern agriculture couldn't match. Her genetic analysis proved several species were unique cultivars, irreplaceable if lost. She compiled historical documentation showing continuous cultivation for over 1,000 years. Climate data demonstrated how these plants survived droughts that destroyed conventional farms. The economic analysis was staggering. If scaled properly, these techniques could revolutionize urban food production. But would anyone listen? Development contracts meant millions in immediate profit. Sustainable agriculture meant long-term thinking. Cairo's politicians rarely exhibited. She filmed video testimonies from keepers, documenting their knowledge before it vanished. Amara demonstrated seed saving. Ibrahim explained nitrogen-fixing rotation patterns. Each keeper contributed pieces of a vast puzzle. As dawn broke, Yasmin had assembled compelling evidence. But evidence meant nothing without the right audience. She needed allies, journalists, activists, international organizations. The developers planned to start demolition in 2 weeks. Time was running out for gardens that had survived centuries. The faculty lounge became an unlikely war room. Dr. Nazir had spent years building trust with colleagues. Now he called in every favor. "This isn't just botanical preservation," he explained to the assembled group. "It's Cairo's heritage, our agricultural future, climate adaptation solutions." Professor Layla from Environmental Studies examined Yasmin's data. "These drought resistance figures are incredible. We're spending millions researching what already grows in our abandoned buildings." A journalist from Al Aram took notes rapidly. "Hidden gardens, ancient knowledge, development threats. This story has everything, but we need visual proof, human interest angles." Dr. Nazir shared keeper testimonies, careful to protect identities. The room's energy shifted from skepticism to excitement. Here was real solutions to food security, urban sustainability, cultural preservation. "We need international attention," suggested someone. "UNESCO, FAO, environmental organizations. Make it too big to bury." Plans formed rapidly. Articles, academic papers, social media campaigns. They had 2 weeks to make Cairo's hidden gardens too famous to destroy. The seeds of change were finally being planted in public consciousness. The mirror system was ingenious. Moonlight bounced through hidden shafts, illuminating the seed vault without electricity. Nur el-Din moved slowly but surely among thousands of containers. 60 years I've been guardian here." His voice carried lifetimes of dedication. "Seeds from my teacher, from his teacher, back through time." Yasmin gasped at the scope. Each container was meticulously labelled: species, origin, date, growing instructions. Climate-controlled sections held the most delicate varieties. "This is Egypt's true treasure," Noor continued. "Not gold or artifacts, but living potential. Each seed can create abundance." He showed her special collections: wheats that survived biblical droughts, vegetables that grew in pure sand, medicines modern science was only beginning to understand. The developers see empty buildings. We see libraries of survival written in DNA. His gnarled hands selected specific seeds. These saved villages during famines. Those helped our ancestors cross deserts, all waiting to serve again. Yasmin understood she stood in one of humanity's most important rooms, a genetic ark sailing through time. The responsibility of protecting it felt overwhelming yet essential. The spiral garden's transformation began before dawn. Keepers worked together, creating educational displays around the pattern. Signs explained each plant's significance. This grain-fed pyramid builders, that herb treated plague victims. Yasmin coordinated with nervous energy. They had one chance to capture public imagination before demolition crews arrived. Journalists came first, cameras capturing the morning light on ancient plants thriving impossibly. Social media exploded with images, Cairo hidden gardens trending within hours. Citizens began arriving, grandmothers recognizing plants from childhood, young people amazed by sustainable techniques. Amara demonstrated traditional cultivation, her weathered hands gentle with seedlings. "We're not asking to stop progress," she told reporters. "We're offering partnership. These techniques plus modern knowledge could transform urban agriculture." The crowd grew. Students, farmers, curious neighbours, each keeper shared their specialty, seeds and knowledge flowing freely. For the first time in generations, the gardens existed in daylight. Dr. Nazir arrived with university officials, legitimizing the academic significance. The secret was out. Now came the real test. Would Cairo choose preservation or profit? Cairo's evening news led with the story. Secret gardens, discovered in abandoned buildings, ancient knowledge hidden for generations. The Ottoman mansion became a battleground of values. Developers waived permits while citizens formed protective chains around gardens. "This changes nothing," the lead developer insisted on camera. "We have legal rights to renovate these properties." But public opinion shifted rapidly. Yasmin's documentation spread online. Drought-resistant crops, pesticide-free cultivation, thousand-year success stories. Environmental groups arrived. International media picked up the story. Save Cairo Gardens gained global support. City officials found themselves in difficult positions. Development meant money, but destroying newly famous heritage sites meant political suicide. "We need comprehensive assessment," a minister announced, buying time. Keepers used every moment, teaching anyone who'd listen. Children planted seeds. Teenagers filmed elders explaining techniques. The spiral garden became a classroom. Amara smiled, watching knowledge spread like her beloved plants, taking root in new minds. The battle wasn't won, but for the first time, they weren't fighting alone. Cairo was remembering its agricultural soul. The threats came after midnight. Anonymous calls, thrown rocks, attempted break-ins. Someone wanted the gardens destroyed before legal protections could form. Fahid coordinated expanded patrols. Volunteers joined. Students, locals, even tourists touched by the story. The hidden network became visible community. 20 years I protected alone, Fahid told volunteers. Now we protect together. They developed rotation schedules, communication systems, emergency protocols. The gardens had survived neglect, but active hostility required new strategies. Each night brought challenges. Cut fences, poisoned water sources, mysteriously delivered construction equipment, but also unexpected support, restaurant owners bringing food, neighborhood youth organizing watches. "They want us to give up," a young volunteer said. "But how can we? This is our heritage." Farid saw his younger self in their determination. The lonely burden of secrecy had transformed into shared purpose. Police eventually provided official protection, responding to public pressure. The gardens that thrived in shadows now bloomed under community care. Change was dangerous, but sometimes necessary. Farid touched his old keys, symbols of solitary duty. Now he carried hope instead, far lighter, infinitely more powerful. The UNESCO team arrived with translators and specialized equipment. What started as Yasmin's simple research had attracted global attention. Environmental scientists, agricultural historians, and sustainability experts examined every detail. "Continuous cultivation for over a millennium," the lead assessor marveled. "With biodiversity we thought extinct. This qualifies for multiple preservation categories." Yasmin presented her findings to rapt attention. Genetic analyses proved several species existed nowhere else. Growth data demonstrated techniques surpassing modern methods. Historical documentation established unbroken knowledge chains. The FAO representative was particularly excited. These drought-resistant varieties could help regions facing climate change. The cultivation methods use minimal water while maintaining soil health. Keepers demonstrated their specialties with newfound pride. No longer hidden criminals, but recognized guardians of invaluable heritage. International media coverage exploded. Cairo's secret gardens became symbols of traditional knowledge surviving against odds. Funding offers arrived for research and preservation. The very buildings developers wanted to demolish were becoming protected sites. Universities proposed partnerships. Agricultural companies requested seed samples. The hidden network was transforming into recognized institution. Yasmin watched transformation with mixed feelings. Success brought protection, but also changed the garden's intimate nature. Seeds are promises, Amara told the circle of children. Each one promises food, medicine, beauty, if we care for it properly. Young hands carefully cleaned and sorted seeds, learning skills nearly lost to time. The spiral garden had become an outdoor classroom. Schools brought students to learn what textbooks couldn't teach, how ancestors survived using intelligence and observation. My grandmother taught me this way, Amara continued, showing proper drying techniques. Now I teach you, and someday you'll teach others. The children listened with focus rare in modern classrooms. Here was tangible wisdom, immediate and practical. One boy asked, "Why did people forget this knowledge?" Amara smiled sadly. "Sometimes we think new ways are always better. We forget that old ways were tested by centuries." She demonstrated reading seeds for viability, storing for optimal preservation, selecting for desired traits. Ancient science using observation instead of laboratories. Parents watching were equally fascinated. Many remembered grandparents with similar knowledge, lost in rush toward modernization. The gardens were healing more than soil. They were reconnecting generations. Knowledge flowed like water finding its level, filling gaps urban life had created. The university auditorium buzzed with anticipation. Dr. Nazir stood beside Amara, Fareed, and other keepers, academic robes mixing with traditional dress. "Today we formalize what wisdom created informally," he announced. "The Cairo Heritage Gardens Initiative will preserve and share thousand-year-old agricultural knowledge." Cameras flashed as partnership documents were signed. The underground network was becoming an official institution with university backing, government protection, and international support. "Our botany department will work with traditional keepers," Nazir explained. "Students will learn techniques that surpass modern methods. Research will explore applications for climate adaptation." Amara spoke next, her voice carrying decades of dedication. "We protected in secret because we had to. Now we share openly because we can. This knowledge belongs to all who need it." The initiative outlined ambitious plans, educational programs, seed distribution, urban agriculture training. Cairo could become a model for cities worldwide. Yasmin watched from the audience, remembering that first night discovering the spiral. Her simple research assignment had uncovered treasures beyond imagination. Sometimes the most important discoveries were hidden in plain sight, waiting for curious eyes to see differently. The seed vault's transformation respected its essence while ensuring perpetual preservation. Modern climate control supported ancient storage wisdom. Scientists worked under Noor's watchful guidance, learning why certain methods survived millennia. "Temperature matters, but so does container material," he explained. "Clay breathes differently than glass. Seeds know the difference." Each variety was photographed, genetically sequenced, and backed up while maintaining original storage. "We're creating triple redundancy," the lead scientist explained. "Physical seeds here, samples in other locations, and complete genetic maps in databases. This collection will never be lost again." Noor smiled, watching young researchers handle seeds with reverence he'd instilled. His 60 years of solitary guardianship were ending with spectacular validation. "I saved them from forgetting," he said softly. "Now they'll save us from hunger." The vault's expansion revealed more treasures, notebooks from previous guardians, cultivation instructions centuries old, maps of extinct garden locations. History and future merged in temperature-controlled chambers. International seed banks requested exchanges, recognizing the collection's unique value. Cairo's hidden vault was joining global efforts to preserve agricultural biodiversity, no longer isolated but connected, strengthened by shared purpose. 6 months later, the Ottoman mansion welcomed its 1,000th visitor. The spiral garden remained the centerpiece, but every room now taught different aspects of traditional agriculture. Tourists, students, and farmers came seeking knowledge once hidden. Yasmin guided a group through the courtyard. This pattern maximizes water efficiency while creating beneficial plant relationships. Notice how taller species protect sensitive ones. Her pride was evident, from accidental discoverer to official educator. Each building in the network had found new purpose. The Coptic church basement became a medicinal garden classroom. The mosque courtyard taught desert agriculture. The merchant house preserved fruit tree cultivation. Entrance fees funded expansion and keeper salaries. Those who protected in secret now taught openly, their knowledge finally valued. Gift shops sold heritage seeds with growing instructions. Restaurants featuring traditional ingredients opened nearby. The gardens were revitalizing entire neighborhoods. "We thought development meant destroying the old," a city planner admitted. "But integrating past wisdom with present needs creates better futures." Amara, now official headkeeper, watched children plant seeds where she once worked in shadows. Sometimes the greatest treasures were those that waited patiently for the right moment to bloom. "You've written our stories into science," Amara said, reading Yasmin's thesis draft. They sat surrounded by thriving plants in Yasmin's apartment, no longer just specimens, but living connections to history. "Your knowledge deserves recognition," Yasmin replied. "Traditional ecological knowledge, TEK, is finally being valued by academia. You were scientists before the word existed." Her thesis documented the garden's techniques with rigorous analysis. Each traditional method was tested, verified, and explained in modern terms. But she also included keeper stories, the human element science often ignored. "I never imagined this outcome," Amara reflected. "We expected to die with our secrets. Instead, they're spreading worldwide." Programs based on Cairo's model were starting in other cities. Urban gardens using traditional techniques were feeding communities while healing environments. "You gave me purpose," Yasmin said quietly. "I was just cataloguing plants. You showed me they were libraries of survival." Amara patted her hand with motherly affection. "And you gave our knowledge the voice it needed. Together, we planted seeds that will bloom for generations." The evening call to prayer drifted through windows as they continued working, past and future collaborating over tea and dreams. The harvest festival exceeded everyone's dreams. Tables groaned under heritage vegetables, ancient grains, and forgotten fruits, all grown using techniques from the gardens. The spiral pattern now centered a thriving community space. Musicians played traditional farming songs while children learned planting rhythms. "These tomatoes!" a chef exclaimed. "I haven't tasted anything like this since my grandmother's garden." The varieties preserved in secret now fed hundreds. Restaurants competed for heritage ingredients. Farmers traveled from rural areas to learn urban cultivation methods that used minimal water and space. Yasmin moved through crowds with deep satisfaction. Her academic work had real impact. Empty buildings becoming productive spaces, forgotten knowledge creating food security. Keepers demonstrated their specialties at different stations. Seed saving, companion planting, natural pest control, wisdom packaged for modern application. "We're not just growing food," Ferry told visitors. "We're growing community resilience." The security guard had become an educator, his protective instincts now channeled into teaching. As sunset painted the garden golden, Amara raised a traditional blessing over the harvest. Hundreds of voices joined in, celebrating not just food, but the connections that created it. Ancient Cairo's wisdom lived on. The International Agricultural Innovation Awards ceremony in Rome felt surreal. Dr. Nazir stood at the podium, but his words credited others. "This recognition belongs to Cairo's garden keepers, who preserved knowledge when the world forgot its value." The audience, scientists, policymakers, and agricultural leaders, applauded warmly. Yasmin sat with Amara, Farid, and other keepers, their traditional clothing distinct among suits. "Our project proves traditional knowledge and modern science strengthen each other," Nazir continued. "Urban gardens using ancient techniques now help cities worldwide address food security and climate change." The award brought more than honor. It brought resources, funding for expanded programs, partnerships with international institutions, and platforms to share knowledge globally. "My grandmother would be amazed," Amara whispered to Yasmin. She hid seeds in her sleeves. Now they're discussed at United Nations meetings. The ceremony's highlight was announcing the Cairo Protocol guidelines for preserving traditional agricultural knowledge in urban environments. Cities from Delhi to Detroit were adopting the model. As they received the award together, Yasmin thought about that first night in the spiral garden. Sometimes the smallest discoveries created the biggest changes. Seeds of knowledge, properly tended, could transform worlds. Dawn training sessions buzzed with energy across Cairo's heritage gardens. Young people who discovered the network through social media now learned from elderly masters. Technology-supported tradition tablets documented techniques, while hands learned ancient skills. "Feel the seed's weight," Ibrahim instructed his protégés. "Heavy means viable, light means empty promise." Students recorded his words while practicing selection techniques perfected over centuries. At another site, Salma taught flower cultivation for natural dyes and medicines. Each color tells the plant's story. Deep purple means high antioxidants. Pale yellow indicates gentle healing. The apprenticeship program had waiting lists. University students, young farmers, even tech workers sought this knowledge. They understood that sustainability required roots in proven wisdom. "We're not just preserving the past," one student blogged. "We're learning technologies that work without destroying the planet." Elders who once worried their knowledge would die with them now chose among eager learners. The secret burden had become shared treasure. As training sessions ended, students dispersed across Cairo, many to start their own small gardens. Knowledge spread like seeds on wind, finding fertile ground in unexpected places. The network that survived in shadows now thrived in sunlight. The International Conference on Traditional Ecological Knowledge chose Cairo for obvious reasons. The spiral garden, visible through conference windows, reminded attendees why they'd gathered. Amara delivered the keynote address to 500 delegates. "Knowledge keepers exist worldwide," she began. "In Amazon forests, Arctic tundra, island nations, all preserving survival wisdom. Cairo's gardens simply show what's possible when we listen." Her presentation showed before and after images. Abandoned buildings transformed into productive spaces, forgotten seeds feeding communities, young people learning from elders. Traditional knowledge isn't anti-modern, she emphasized. It's pre-tested innovation. Our ancestors were brilliant scientists working with observation instead of laboratories. Delegates shared similar stories. Indigenous seed savers from Mexico, water harvesters from India, permaculture practitioners from Australia. Cairo's success inspired revelation of other hidden networks. Workshops demonstrated practical applications. Urban planners learned garden integration. Climate scientists studied drought-resistant varieties. Economists calculated values of localized food systems. "We're designing resilient futures using proven past wisdom," the conference concluded. Cairo's garden keepers, once hidden criminals, now led global movements. The spiral pattern that began it all had expanded worldwide, connecting knowledge keepers across continents. 3 years after her first discovery, Yasmin evaluated sites with transformed vision. This abandoned textile factory seemed worthless to most, but she saw potential. Native plants already thriving in cracks suggested good soil beneath concrete. "Perfect southern exposure," she noted, measuring light angles. "Natural water collection in the courtyard. Existing walls for vertical growing." Her assessment was professional now. Doctoral degree complete, international recognition earned. Young assistants documented her observations, learning to see through her eyes. The building held stories. Prayer rugs in a corner suggested workers who valued this space. Kitchen areas where communal meals were shared. Communities had thrived here before abandonment. "We'll need soil tests, structural surveys, and community input," Yasmin instructed. But this could become Cairo's newest heritage garden. The network had developed protocols for site transformation. Legal clearances, community engagement, keeper recruitment, all systematized while maintaining heart. As she explored upper floors, Yasmin found traces of previous cultivation. Someone had tried container gardens on the roof. Even in abandonment, life sought expression. She smiled, remembering Amara's words. Gardens exist wherever people choose to create them. This building would bloom again. Protection has changed, Farid explained to new security trainees. We once guarded against everyone. Now we guard for everyone while maintaining sacred spaces. His training balanced access with preservation. Gardens needed visitors to survive financially, but also required protection from damage. Watch for teachers, he instructed. People genuinely interested in learning. Also watch for takers, those who'd steal rare seeds or damage plants for profit. Modern security meant cameras and communication systems, but ancient wisdom remained essential. Reading people's intentions, understanding plant needs, knowing when to intervene. Each garden has rhythms, Farid continued. Morning visitors differ from evening ones. School groups need different attention than tourists. Learn your garden's patterns. Trainees practice scenarios, overeager photographers trampling beds, children wanting to pick everything, researchers needing special access. Each situation required judgment. Remember why we're here, Farid emphasized. Not to control, but to ensure these gardens serve generations. Sometimes that means saying no. Often it means teaching why. His transformation from solitary guard to community protector inspired others. Security through connection worked better than walls. The gardens that once hid now welcomed wisely. The mansion's walls bloomed with children's visions. Hundreds of artworks transformed the heritage site into a gallery celebrating young perspectives on ancient gardens. This is the spiral from above, 8-year-old Layla explained her painting. But I made it rainbow colors because the plants make me happy. Each piece showed different connections. Some drew scientific diagrams learned in workshops. Others painted emotional responses, families sharing meals from garden harvests. Art helps children process complex ideas, their teacher explained. The gardens teach science, history, culture, and sustainability. Through art, students internalize these lessons personally. Parents move through exhibitions with wonder. Many had initially skeptical about weed museums, but seeing their children's engagement changed perspectives. One father admitted, "My daughter knows more about plants than I do. She's teaching me recipes my own grandmother used to make." The exhibition's highlight was a collaborative mural. Hundreds of children had added elements, creating a massive garden scene. Past, present, and future intertwined in youthful imagination. Amara attended as guest of honor, tears flowing as children presented flowers they'd grown themselves. "You are the seeds we planted," she told them. "Now you're blooming beautifully." The Seed Vault had never hosted a party before, but Nur el-Din's 90th birthday deserved exceptional celebration. Keepers came from every site, bringing rare seeds as gifts. 61 years of guardianship, someone calculated. Probably saved more genetic diversity than any single person in Egypt. Nur moved slowly among well-wishers, his satisfaction evident. The vault he'd protected alone now had dozens of trained guardians. Young apprentices presented a special gift, a digital catalogue of every seed variety, accessible worldwide. "Your knowledge won't stay buried," they promised. "It'll feed the world." The ceremony's highlight was passing the ceremonial seed container. Noor handed the ancient vessel to Yasmin, recognizing her as the bridge between old and new. "Guard them well," he said simply, "but more importantly, share them widely." Stories flowed like water. Each keeper shared memories of Noor's quiet guidance, seeds saved from extinction, knowledge preserved against forgetting. "You taught us patience," Amara said. "That some victories take generations to achieve." As candles were lit on a cake made from heritage grains, Noor's eyes sparkled. His life's work hadn't just survived, it had flourished beyond imagination. Cairo's skyline was changing, not with towers but with gardens. The Heritage Network's success inspired citywide transformation. Rooftops, vacant lots, and neglected spaces bloomed with productive plants. "Every neighborhood can feed itself," the urban farming coordinator announced. Heritage seeds were distributed free with growing guides based on keeper knowledge. Traditional techniques proved perfect for space. Limited urban agriculture. Apartment buildings installed rooftop gardens using Noor's water conservation methods. Schools created educational plots following Amara's companion planting wisdom. Restaurants grew ingredients using Ibrahim's soil-building techniques. "We're not importing solutions," a city planner explained. "We're implementing proven local knowledge. These techniques survived here for millennia. They're perfectly adapted to our climate." Employment opportunities multiplied. Garden coordinators, seed distributors, cultivation trainers, all jobs rooted in traditional knowledge. Young people who might have left Cairo stayed to become urban farmers. Tourist routes now included heritage gardens alongside pyramids and museums. Visitors learned about living culture, not just ancient artifacts. The transformation exceeded dreams. Cairo was becoming a model for sustainable cities worldwide. Hidden gardens had planted seeds of change that grew into an agricultural revolution. Sometimes the smallest beginnings created the biggest transformations. The university auditorium overflowed with colleagues, students, and garden keepers. Dr. Nazir's retirement ceremony celebrated more than an academic career. It honored courage to support hidden knowledge. 25 years ago, I almost ignored Yasmin's discovery, he admitted. Fear nearly prevented me from supporting the most important research of my career. The university president stood to make an announcement. The board unanimously approved creating the Nazir Institute for Traditional Ecological Knowledge. Dr. Nazir will serve as founding director emeritus. Gasps and applause filled the room. The institute would formalize what began accidentally, studying, preserving, and teaching traditional agricultural wisdom. From hidden shame to honored institution, Nazir said emotionally. This proves knowledge finds ways to survive and eventually triumph. Yasmin, now a professor herself, presented him with a special gift seeds from every heritage garden, mounted and framed. You planted courage in your students. Now that courage feeds the world. The ceremony concluded with garden keepers singing traditional planting songs. Academic formality dissolved into community celebration. Nazir had transformed from fearful professor to champion of integrated knowledge. His legacy would educate generations in wisdom, both ancient and essential. The global seed exchange transformed Cairo's convention center into a celebration of biodiversity. Indigenous keepers from 6 continents brought treasure seeds saved through colonization, industrialization, and climate change. Cairo's delegation included Amara, Yasmin, and young keepers. Their tables displayed desert-adapted varieties that attracted intense interest. These survived 3,000 years of Egyptian droughts, Yasmin explained. Perfect for regions facing water scarcity. Exchanges followed protocols respecting cultural significance. Seeds weren't commodities, but sacred trusts. Stories accompanied each variety, which ceremonies used them, what conditions they preferred, how ancestors selected them. An Aboriginal elder traded drought-resistant grains for Cairo's medicinal herbs. Desert peoples understand desert plants, she said simply. Andean potato guardians exchanged tubers for Egyptian legumes. Arctic seed savers traded cold-adapted varieties for heat-resistant ones. Climate change means we need each other's wisdom, a speaker emphasized. Seeds that thrived in Cairo's heat might save northern communities as temperatures rise. The exchange created more than genetic diversity. It built relationships. Knowledge keepers who worked in isolation now had global partners. Cairo's hidden gardens had sparked worldwide connections. Traditional knowledge was weaving a safety net for humanity's future. The first Young Keeper Academy graduation took place where it all began. The Spiral Garden. 25 graduates stood ready to carry knowledge forward, with both traditional understanding and formal certification. You represent hope, Amara addressed them as Academy Director. Not just for gardens, but for all traditional knowledge threatened by forgetting. You prove ancient wisdom deserves modern respect. Graduates ranged from teenagers to young professionals. Each had completed 2 years studying with elder keepers while earning academic credentials. They mastered seed saving, cultivation techniques, botanical identification, and cultural preservation. My family thought I was wasting time learning old farming, graduate Rashid shared. Now I have job offers from 3 cities wanting heritage garden programs. Parents watched with pride as children received certificates. Many had initially worried about career prospects. Now their children were pioneers in growing fields. Elder keepers presented each graduate with ceremonial seed pouches, symbols of responsibility passing to capable hands. The knowledge that once hid in shadows was now celebrated in sunshine. As graduates recited the keeper pledge to preserve and share knowledge, Cairo's afternoon sun blessed their commitment. The academy ensured garden wisdom would flourish for generations. My grandmother says plants are like people. They grow better with friends, little Sarah explained to classmates visiting her family's garden. At 7, she already knew which plants helped each other grow. Amara watched from the kitchen window as her granddaughter demonstrated seed saving. Small hands worked carefully, showing techniques passed through 4 generations of women. This mint keeps bugs away from tomatoes, Sarah continued her tour. And these beans make the soil healthy for everything else. My grandmother learned from her grandmother, who learned from hers. The children listened with fascination. Garden knowledge was no longer strange but cool. Sarah's expertise made her a playground leader in sustainability projects. Can we start a garden at school? One friend asked. Sarah nodded enthusiastically. Grandmother has extra seeds. She says sharing seeds is sharing life. The informal teaching moment represented victory beyond any award. Knowledge had become so normalized that children taught children without adult intervention. Amara wiped happy tears. The secrets she'd guarded fearfully were now her granddaughter's casual wisdom. The spiral pattern had expanded beyond gardens into culture itself. Traditional knowledge was simply becoming knowledge useful, valued, and naturally transmitted. This flavor, Chef Hassan exclaimed, tasting tomatoes from heritage seeds. My grandmother described this taste, but I never believed tomatoes could be so complex. His restaurant, Forgotten Flavors, pioneered Cairo's heritage food movement. Menus featured ingredients from the Garden Network, ancient grains, traditional vegetables, medicinal herbs. Each dish told stories. Pharaoh's Feast used wheat varieties from pyramid-era cultivation. Desert Bloom Salad combined drought-resistant greens that sustained caravan travelers. Diners experienced revelation with each bite. I never knew food could taste like memories, one customer said tearfully. This reminds me of my grandfather's village before industrial farming changed everything. The movement spread rapidly. Cooking schools added heritage ingredient courses. Food tours included garden visits. Farmers' markets featured traditional varieties alongside modern produce. We're not just feeding bodies, Chef Hassan explained. We're feeding cultural memory. These flavors connect us to our ancestors' wisdom. Young chefs competed to create innovative dishes using ancient ingredients. Traditional knowledge was becoming trendy, ensuring its survival through appetites. The Garden Network had found another path to preservation, through Cairo's stomach. Sometimes the best way to save something was to make it delicious. The climate research station's controlled environment chambers revealed what keepers always knew. Heritage plants were superiority adapted to stress. Dr. Sarah Chen watched monitors displaying remarkable data. These varieties use 60% less water while producing comparable yields, she told her team. Their root systems are incredibly efficient. The research validated traditional selection methods. Over centuries, keepers had chosen plants that survived extremes. Modern breeding focused on yield had sacrificed resilience. We've been engineering solutions that already existed, another researcher admitted. These traditional varieties have genetic adaptations we're only beginning to understand. Keepers consulted with scientists, sharing observations from generations of cultivation. Amara explained how certain plants predicted weather changes. Ibrahim described root behaviors in different soils. Indigenous knowledge is advanced science using different methods, Dr. Chen concluded. Observation over centuries equals or exceeds laboratory testing. The findings influenced global climate adaptation strategies. International organizations requested heritage seeds for vulnerable regions. Scientific papers credited traditional knowledge equally with modern research. Cairo's gardens were helping the world prepare for uncertain futures. Ancient wisdom was proving more relevant than ever. The United Nations Assembly Hall fell silent as Yasmin took the podium. The girl who once documented weeds in abandoned buildings now addressed world leaders about humanity's agricultural future. 5 years ago, I stumbled into Cairo's hidden gardens, she began. Today, that discovery helps shape global food security policy. This proves traditional knowledge isn't just historical curiosity, it's essential for survival. Her appointment as special rapporteur meant investigating and protecting traditional ecological knowledge worldwide. The position was created partly due to Cairo's success story. Every culture has garden keepers, Yasmin continued, people who preserved seeds and knowledge through persecution, poverty, and progress. Our job is finding them, learning from them, and ensuring their wisdom shapes our response to climate change. The audience, ministers, scientists, and activists applauded warmly. In the gallery, Amara, Dr. Nazir, and other Cairo keepers watched with pride. From hidden criminal to UN advisor, Farid whispered to Amara, "Your knowledge finally has the voice it deserves." Yasmin's closing words resonated. The solutions we desperately seek often grow quietly in places we've forgotten to look. Traditional knowledge isn't our past, it's our future. The abandoned metro station shouldn't have contained life. Yet young Keeper Academy students found thriving gardens 60 feet underground. Bioluminescent fungi provided ethereal light for medicinal plants growing in carefully maintained beds. "This changes everything," Instructor Khalil said, examining root systems extending into tunnel walls. "Someone engineered underground cultivation centuries before metros existed." The students documented with excitement. Carved hieroglyphs suggested this was an ancient healing temple, repurposed when the metro was built, then abandoned again. Plants here were different, adapted to darkness, possibly containing unique medicinal compounds. "The network is older and larger than we imagined," one student observed. "How many more sites remain hidden?" They found evidence of recent maintenance. Someone still tended these plants, but who? The official Keeper network knew nothing of this location. Cairo's secrets hadn't all been revealed. The students reported their discovery to Yasmin and the academy. If underground gardens existed, what other cultivation sites awaited discovery? The spiral pattern appeared here too, carved in stone, suggesting connections to the original garden. Knowledge, like plants, found ways to survive in the most unlikely places. 5 years after Yasmin's discovery, Cairo celebrated with the world watching. The spiral garden hosted the main celebration, but 23 gardens participated through live connections. Thousands gathered in each location, sharing food grown using traditional methods. From one hidden garden to a global movement, Mayor Rashid announced. Cairo leads the world in urban agriculture because we listened to our elders' wisdom. Statistics flashed on screens. 50,000 people trained, 300 gardens established, food security increased, 40% in participating neighborhoods. But numbers couldn't capture the cultural transformation. Children who learned garden skills now taught others. Restaurants sourced ingredients locally. Abandoned buildings became community resources. "My neighborhood was dying," one resident testified. "Empty buildings, no jobs, no hope. Now we grow food, sell produce, teach visitors." The gardens brought life back. Music filled the evening, traditional farming songs mixed with modern celebrations. Each garden contributed performances, creating a symphony of cultural preservation. Amara, now 83, addressed the crowds. "We planted seeds of knowledge in darkness. You grew them into forests of light. This is how wisdom survives, through open hearts and dirty hands working together." "Security isn't about keeping people out anymore," Farid explained to his son Ahmed during morning rounds. "It's about helping them understand what they're protecting." Ahmed had returned from university with a degree in community development, ready to modernize his father's work. But he quickly learned that Farid's methods needed no improvement, just evolution. "You protected in secret for 20 years, Ahmed observed. "Now I coordinate volunteers, school visits, and research access. Same job, different methods." They walked through gardens that had transformed the neighborhood. Where drug dealers once gathered, children learned botany. Abandoned buildings that sheltered crime now produced food and jobs. Your generation makes it sustainable, Farid said proudly. We save the gardens, you're helping them save communities. Ahmed showed his father the new security app. Volunteers could report issues, coordinate coverage, and share successes. Technology supporting traditional vigilance. Grandfather would be amazed, Ahmed reflected. He protected one building, you protected dozens. Now we're protecting a movement. Farid smiled, remembering lonely nights guarding shadows. His son would never know that isolation. The gardens had become Cairo's pride, protected by community love rather than solitary duty. The architecture studio buzzed with creative energy. Students from 12 countries designed buildings that weren't just structures, but living systems. Heritage garden principles guided every choice. Water collection here, southern exposure for winter gardens, communal spaces for seed sharing, student Maria explained her design. Buildings became vertical farms, community centers, and climate moderators simultaneously. Amara consulted with professors, ensuring designs respected traditional knowledge while embracing innovation. Ancient builders understood integration, she taught. Homes, gardens, and communities were one system, not separate elements. Students competed to create the most elegant solutions, rooftop spirals maximizing growing space, wall systems filtering grey water through planted terraces, community kitchens connected to growing areas. This is architecture's future, Professor Liu declared. Buildings that produce rather than just consume. The Cairo Gardens showed us the way. Winning designs would be built in cities worldwide. Cairo's influence spread through infrastructure itself. Traditional knowledge was shaping how humanity would live. Young architects left the program understanding buildings as garden opportunities. Every structure could support life, community, and resilience. The spiral pattern appeared in blueprints globally, ancient wisdom encoding into tomorrow's cities. Behind what seemed like a solid wall, new vaultkeeper Rashida found Noor's greatest secret. Air hissed as sealed containers opened for the first time in decades. Inside lay treasures beyond imagination, seeds of plants historians only knew from hieroglyphs. He never told anyone, Rashida whispered, examining labels in Noor's careful script. Varieties from the library of Alexandria's botanical collection, plants Cleopatra's gardeners grew, seeds from Nubian queens' medicinal gardens. Each container included detailed notes, where found, who preserved them, how to cultivate. Noor had spent 60 years gathering myths made real. The discovery required careful handling. Some varieties might be humanity's last samples. Others could solve modern agricultural challenges. All represented genetic diversity, precious beyond measure. He was saving them for the right moment, Amara said when informed. Noor always said the seeds would know when the world was ready. International seed banks begged for samples. Researchers prepared special protocols. These weren't just seeds, but living links to ancient civilizations. The revelation reminded everyone that Cairo's gardens still held secrets. How much more wisdom waited in shadows, protected by patient guardians until the time was right. The National Science Fair bloomed with heritage garden projects. Where once volcanoes and robots dominated, now traditional cultivation techniques won top prizes. My experiment proves companion planting increases yield by 35%, 12-year-old Aisha explained to judges. Her rigorous methodology applied scientific method to ancient wisdom. Other projects explored water conservation, natural pest control, and soil building. Each young scientist credited keeper mentors alongside textbooks. Traditional knowledge had entered mainstream education. These children understand sustainability viscerally, a judge noted. They're not learning abstract concepts, but practical skills proven over millennia. Parents watched proudly as children explained complex ecological relationships. The gardens had transformed education from memorization to experimentation. Winners would present at international conferences. Children who might never have excelled in traditional academics found success through hands-on botanical learning. My son hated science until the garden program, one mother shared. Now he wants to be an agricultural engineer. The keepers showed him science was everywhere, not just in books. The fair's grand prize went to siblings who developed a school lunch program using playground gardens. Ancient wisdom was solving modern problems through young minds. At 85, Amara's body moved slowly, but her influence moved faster than ever. From her apartment overlooking the spiral garden, she watched her life's work flourish beyond dreams. Keepers visited daily, bringing herbs for her tea and questions for her wisdom. The gardens no longer need me, she told Yasmin during afternoon visit. They have all of you. That's how it should be. Through her window, she saw school groups learning, tourists exploring, and researchers documenting. The spiral pattern was worn smooth by thousands of feet following its path. You saved more than plants, Yasmin said gently. You saved a way of thinking, of living with rather than despite nature. Amara smiled, hands still stained green despite her retirement. My grandmother would be so proud. Her seeds didn't just survive, they conquered with kindness. Young keepers brought their children for blessings. The woman who once worked in fearful secrecy was now Cairo's beloved garden grandmother. Everyone wanted her stories, her approval, her touch on their seeds. Knowledge is like water, she told them. It finds its way through any barrier if it flows long enough. You are all rivers now. The Global Climate Summit chose Cairo specifically to showcase successful adaptation. World leaders who usually met in sterile conference rooms found themselves in the spiral garden, soil under their fingernails. This is what success looks like, the UN Secretary-General announced. Not expensive technology, but accessible wisdom. Cairo proves cities can feed themselves while healing environments. Presidents and prime ministers listened as keepers explained techniques, simple methods that required knowledge, not money. Solutions accessible to any community willing to learn. My country spends billions on food imports, one leader admitted. Yet you grow abundance in abandoned buildings using thousand-year-old methods. We've been looking in the wrong direction. Commitments flowed, funding for traditional knowledge preservation, urban garden initiatives, and keeper exchange programs. Cairo's model would be replicated globally. You've given us hope, another president told Amara. If Cairo can transform from hidden gardens to food security leader, any city can change. The summit concluded with the Cairo Declaration, recognizing traditional ecological knowledge as essential for climate adaptation. Garden keepers who once hid from authorities now advised them. Mom, look at this! 15-year-old Layla called from her makeshift laboratory. Yasmin's daughter had inherited both scientific curiosity and garden love. Using equipment unavailable during Yasmin's discovery, Layla was finding new secrets in old plants. This heritage mint produces compounds that could replace synthetic antibiotics, Layla explained excitedly. And it only develops them when grown using traditional companion planting. Yasmin felt time's circle completing. She'd discovered the gardens through accident. Her daughter approached them with intention and advanced tools. 3 generations of women, Amara preserving, Yasmin revealing, Layla advancing, connected through plants. The keepers always said these plants were medicine, Yasmin noted. Now you're proving what they knew intuitively. Layla's research combined genomic analysis with traditional cultivation methods. She spent mornings in labs and afternoons learning from elderly keepers. I want to show that traditional knowledge plus modern science equals breakthrough discoveries, Layla said. The gardens aren't just history, they're humanity's research laboratory. Universities already courted the teenager for future programs, but Layla knew her real education came from Cairo's gardens and the keepers who understood plants as partners, not just subjects. The construction crew's discovery halted Cairo's new metro line. Ancient tunnels, far older than any subway, connected heritage garden sites. Archaeological investigation revealed the network's true infrastructure. These passages predate Ottoman rule, lead archaeologist Dr. Mahmoud explained. Modified over centuries, but originally Roman, possibly pharaonic, the garden keepers used existing infrastructure invisible to modern city planning. Carved symbols marked directions between sites. Ventilation shafts explained how underground gardens received air. Water channels showed sophisticated irrigation predating modern systems. They didn't just hide gardens, Yasmin marveled, examining keeper symbols from different eras. They maintained an entire shadow city dedicated to cultivation. Farid remembered his father mentioning the old ways between places, but never understood the literal meaning. Keepers had moved seeds, shared knowledge, and escaped persecution through these passages. The tunnels required preservation as part of Cairo's heritage. Modern gardens above, ancient passages below. The complete system was finally understood. City planners redesigned the metro to preserve tunnels. Cairo's transportation future would respect its agricultural past. The garden's route network was literal as well as metaphorical. The Ottoman mansion's grand reopening as Cairo's first seed library marked 5 years since discovery. Where secrets once hid, knowledge now circulated freely. Children clutched seed packets like treasures. You can borrow these, grow them, then return new seeds, librarian Salma explained. Each generation of plants adapts to your garden, becoming more resilient. The system worked like a book library, but with living materials. Checkout cards tracked which varieties thrived where, building a database of micro-adaptations across Cairo. My tomatoes from last year were the best ever, a young gardener reported, returning seeds. Now others can grow my improved variety. Educational programs ran continuously, seed-saving workshops, cultivation classes, and cooking demonstrations using heritage ingredients. The mansion buzzed with life, from hidden vault to community resource, Noor's successor reflected. He preserved in secrecy what we now share openly. Both approaches served their time. Digital catalogues let people reserve rare varieties. Seed swap events brought gardeners together. The library was creating a generation comfortable with traditional cultivation. Knowledge once guarded by few was becoming culture shared by many. The spiral garden still grew outside, reminding visitors how transformation began. I quit finance to grow food, Mahmoud told customers at his heritage produce stand. Best decision ever. My vegetables have stories, not just prices. Across Cairo, young professionals were choosing soil over spreadsheets. The garden movement created unexpected economic opportunities. Heritage varieties commanded premium prices. Restaurants paid extra for authentic ingredients. My MBA helps, admitted Sarah, who left consulting to coordinate rooftop gardens. But keeper knowledge matters more. Business plans mean nothing if plants don't thrive. They formed cooperatives, sharing resources and wisdom. Modern marketing promoted ancient varieties. Social media spread cultivation tips. Traditional knowledge gained entrepreneurial energy. We're not just growing food, explained Ahmed, whose vertical garden supplied 5 restaurants. We're growing community resilience, cultural preservation, and climate adaptation. The profits are just validation. Parents who worried about children leaving stable careers now bragged about their entrepreneurial farmers. Universities added urban agriculture programs. Banks created loans for heritage farming ventures. The garden network had spawned an entire economy. Young Cairenes weren't abandoning modern life for farming. They were proving the two could enhance each other. Ancient wisdom was creating future livelihoods. Tell us about the first time you entered a hidden garden, the documentary director prompted gently. Amara sat in the spiral garden where Yasmin first found her, morning light soft on her weathered face. The international crew was creating a series about traditional knowledge keepers worldwide. Amara's story would inspire millions. I was 18, she began, eyes distant with memory. My grandmother said I was ready for the responsibility. She led me through passages I never knew existed to gardens that shouldn't have survived. That night changed my life. Cameras captured her hands demonstrating seed saving, still steady despite her age. She showed them the leather pouch, now museum-worthy but still used. We thought we were preserving the past, she reflected. We were actually preparing the future. Every hidden seed was hope planted in darkness. The crew filmed at multiple locations, interviewing keepers she'd trained, showing the network's transformation. Amara's story was becoming history. "What message do you have for future generations?" they asked. She smiled, touching a plant that leaned toward her as always. "Listen to your grandmothers. They know things science is still discovering." The medical world watched as Dr. Layla Farouk, Yasmin's daughter, presented groundbreaking research. Heritage plants from Cairo's gardens had yielded compounds that could revolutionize treatment for antibiotic-resistant infections. "Traditional keepers always said these plants healed," Layla explained. "We've now identified why. The compounds only develop when plants grow using traditional companion planting methods." The research team included young scientists and elderly keepers. Modern equipment had revealed what generations knew intuitively. Certain plant combinations created powerful medicines. "This validates traditional ecological knowledge as advanced science," the team emphasized. "Our ancestors were sophisticated chemists using gardens as laboratories. Pharmaceutical companies offered millions for exclusive rights. But following keeper principles, the team insisted findings remain public domain. This knowledge was preserved for humanity, not profit," Layla stated firmly. "It will remain accessible to all." The discovery sparked global interest in traditional medicine gardens. Universities established ethnobotany programs. The hidden garden's true value was finally measurable in terms even skeptics understood. Amara, watching from her apartment, smiled. The seeds she'd protected were healing in ways she'd always believed but could never prove. Science had finally caught up to wisdom. The UN designation was unprecedented. An entire city recognized for integrating traditional agricultural knowledge into urban planning. Cairo had become what others only dreamed of achieving. "From hidden gardens to global model," the UN representative announced. "Cairo proves cities can feed themselves sustainably using wisdom preserved through generations of dedicated keepers." Every garden site celebrated simultaneously. The spiral pattern, once hidden in a forgotten courtyard, now appeared on Cairo's official seal. Screens connected celebrations across the city, showing the network's vast reach. "This belongs to every keeper who risked everything to preserve knowledge," Mayor Hassan declared. "To every family who maintained gardens through hardship. To every child now learning what their great-grandparents knew." Yasmin stood with Amara, Farid, Dr. Nazir, and hundreds of others who'd transformed secrets into solutions. The journey from that first mysterious spiral to international recognition felt both eternal and instant. "We didn't just save plants," Amara said, her voice carrying despite its softness. "We saved a way of thinking that can save the world." Fireworks bloomed over Cairo like flowers in the night sky. The city that had hidden its gardens now celebrated them as its greatest achievement. Spring brought schoolchildren planting seeds where Yasmin first discovered the pattern. Their small hands pressed hope into soil that had nurtured countless generations. Summer saw the garden explode with life. Tomatoes climbed supports while beans fixed nitrogen below. Visitors came from every continent, learning what Cairo had protected. Autumn's harvest fed the community literal fruits of preserved knowledge. Elderly keepers taught young ones which seeds to save, continuing chains unbroken for millennia. Winter didn't stop the garden's work. Cold hardy varieties thrived while planning began for spring. The spiral pattern remained constant as life flowed through it. A full year showed what Yasmin's discovery had become, not just preserved history but living future. Each season brought new learners, new growth, new understanding of old wisdom. As spring returned, new children planted where last year's had. The spiral continued its ancient dance, teaching patience, persistence, and the power of knowledge rooted in earth. Time moved in circles here, each revolution adding depth. The garden that had hidden for decades would now teach for centuries. Omar began his first solo patrol as dawn touched Cairo's skyline. Fourth generation of his family to protect these gardens, but first to do so with pride instead of secrecy. His great-grandfather had guarded in fear, grandfather Farid in solitude, and father Ahmed in community. Omar protected in celebration. These gardens were Cairo's glory now. His rounds included checking security cameras, but more importantly, greeting early visitors. An elderly woman arrived to collect herbs for tea. "Your great-grandfather helped my family through hard times," she told him. "Now I bring my grandchildren here to learn." Omar understood protection meant more than preventing harm. It meant ensuring knowledge flowed freely, helping visitors understand, and maintaining the trust built over generations. His university degree in sustainable development enhanced traditional understanding. He saw gardens as living classrooms, community centers, and climate solutions simultaneously. Each generation protects differently, his father had taught. Find your way. As morning light strengthened, Omar found his rhythm. His protection would include teaching, innovation, and ensuring these gardens served generations yet unborn. The keys at his belt opened more than doors. They opened futures. The emergency call came at midnight. A virulent disease was destroying wheat crops across 3 continents. Modern varieties had no resistance. The world faced potential famine. Cairo's seed bank held the solution. Ancient wheat varieties, preserved through centuries, carried natural resistance to the pathogen. Noor's hidden collection contained exactly what humanity needed. These varieties survived similar diseases throughout history, the new vault keeper explained to desperate agricultural ministers. Our ancestors selected for resilience, not just yield. Emergency protocols activated. Heritage seeds were multiplied rapidly and distributed globally. Cairo's network coordinated with international partners, sharing both seeds and cultivation knowledge. Within months, resistant crops grew where modern varieties had failed. Farmers who'd never heard of Cairo's gardens were planting seeds saved by keepers they'd never meet. "This is why we preserved," Amara said from her bed, too weak to stand but strong enough to witness vindication. "Not for glory, but for moments when the world needs what we saved." The crisis passed, but its lesson remained. Traditional knowledge wasn't just culturally important, it was survival insurance for humanity. The International Children's Heritage Garden Festival transformed the spiral garden into a babel of young voices sharing green wisdom. Children from 30 countries brought seeds and stories from their communities. "In Peru, we grow potatoes in towers," 8-year-old Carlos demonstrated. "Just like your vertical gardens, but using ancient Incan methods." Young Aiko from Japan showed how her school grew rice in tiny spaces. Mumbai children explained monsoon water collection. Each culture's wisdom found eager learners. Sarah, Amara's great-granddaughter, led Cairo's delegation with confidence inherited through generations. She translated techniques between languages, finding universal patterns in diverse methods. "Plants don't care what language we speak," she told new friends. "They just want understanding hands and patient hearts." Seeds changed hands like precious trading cards. Heritage varieties from Cairo would grow in Kenyan school gardens. Japanese seeds would thrive on Mexican rooftops. The festival created networks that would last lifetimes. Young gardeners were already planning next year's exchange. Knowledge that once hid in single cities was creating global community. As children planted a commemorative garden together, their laughter echoed where silence once reigned. The spiral pattern now connected young hearts worldwide. Spring evening light filled Amara's room as Cairo's garden family gathered. At 90, she was ready for her next journey. The window opened to let in Yasmin's scent and the sound of children learning in the spiral garden below. "No sadness," she whispered, voice still clear. "I've seen seeds I hid in darkness bloom in sunlight. What more could anyone ask?" Yasmin held one hand, Sarah the great-granddaughter held the other. 3 more generations stood close, living proof that knowledge had passed successfully. "The gardens will miss you," someone said. Amara smiled. "I'll be in every seed saved, every child taught, every meal shared. That's how keepers truly live forever." She looked at each face, seeing her life's work reflected. From fearful secret holder to beloved teacher, her transformation mirrored Cairo's own journey. As evening prayers began across the city, Amara closed her eyes with deep satisfaction. The spiral pattern below continued its eternal dance. Knowledge flowed like water, finding new channels. Her last breath came with the breeze, carrying the essence of a life rooted in purpose. The gardens bloomed on, tended by hundreds she'd inspired. Death was just another seed, planted deep and certain to grow. The memorial garden's dedication drew thousands. After centuries of secrecy, keeper names were finally carved in stone for all to see. Amara Hassan headed the honor roll, but hundreds more followed, people who risked everything to preserve knowledge. They worked in shadows so we could grow in light, Yasmin spoke at the ceremony. This garden ensures their names and wisdom live forever. Each heritage site contributed plants. The memorial bloomed with diversity representing the network's full scope. Medicinal herbs grew beside ancient grains, heritage fruits shaded rare vegetables. Elderly keepers wept, seeing their names honored. Some had waited 70 years for recognition. Families discovered ancestors they never knew were guardians. "My grandfather's name," one woman cried. "Mother said he was just a gardener. Now I understand what he really protected." Children read names aloud, promising to remember. Schools would bring classes to learn about courage disguised as gardening. The memorial transformed from static monument to living classroom. As the ceremony ended, people placed seeds at the memorial's base, promises to continue the keeper tradition. Each seed represented commitment to preserve and share knowledge. From above, Cairo's transformation was breathtaking. Where concrete once dominated, gardens now flourished. The spiral pattern that began in one courtyard had become the city's organizing principle. Rooftops bloomed with productive gardens. Abandoned lots grew community food. Schools, hospitals, and offices integrated growing spaces. Cairo had become the green city others aspired to emulate. 10 years ago, we documented weeds in ruins, Yasmin reflected from the observation deck. Now we've proven cities can feed themselves while healing the climate. Statistics supported what eyes could see. Urban temperature dropped 3 degrees. Food security increased 60%. Employment in urban agriculture surpassed traditional industries. But numbers couldn't capture the cultural shift. Children grew up knowing where food originated. Neighbors connected through shared gardens. Traditional knowledge was simply normal life now. Amara always said gardens were libraries, Dr. Nazir noted, joining Yasmin. She was right. Cairo read those books and rewrote its future. The spiral pattern appeared everywhere, in architecture, in city planning, in how communities organized. Ancient wisdom had become modern innovation. Cairo's transformation from hidden gardens to global model proved that sometimes the most powerful revolutions grew quietly from seeds. Feel how the seed wants to be planted, Yasmin guided her granddaughter's small hands. Little Amara, named for the woman who changed everything, listened with the same intensity Yasmin once showed. The spiral garden glowed in sunset light, eternal pattern teaching its ancient lessons. Thousands had walked this path since Yasmin's discovery, but it remained sacred ground where knowledge passed between hearts. Great-great-grandmother Amara said seeds are promises, the child repeated carefully. Promises of food, medicine, and beauty if we care for them properly. Yasmin smiled, hearing echoes across time. The words lived on, adapted to new voices, but carrying same truth. Around them, Cairo hummed with productive life. Gardens crowned buildings, filled empty spaces, and connected communities. What began as one woman's curiosity had become a city's salvation. "Will there always be gardens, grandmother?" little Amara asked. Yasmin touched the child's cheek gently. "As long as people like you remember to plant, tend, and share, yes, always." As evening prayers began, they planted seeds together where the spiral began. The pattern continued, ancient and eternal, teaching patience and persistence to all who traced its path. Knowledge, like gardens, bloomed wherever loving hands tended it. The International Space Station's newest module contained an unexpected cargo heritage seeds from Cairo's gardens. As Earth turned slowly outside the windows, astronauts prepared humanity's first traditional garden in space. These varieties survived 3,000 years on Earth, mission specialist Dr. Chen explained to the camera. If we're going to establish sustainable colonies, we need crops that adapt and endure. Cairo's keepers preserved exactly what we need. The seeds came with growing instructions, adapted from ancient techniques to zero gravity. Companion planting principles worked even in space. Certain plants still helped each other thrive. It's poetic, her colleague added, planting with careful precision. Knowledge hidden in Earth's abandoned buildings now helps us reach for stars. Traditional wisdom enabling future exploration. Back on Earth, keepers watched the live feed with pride. Their preserved knowledge would travel further than ancestors ever imagined. Yet the principles remained unchanged. Observe, adapt, preserve, share. As the first heritage seeds sprouted in space, the spiral pattern appeared in their growth. Even in zero gravity, ancient patterns persisted. Life found its way, guided by wisdom that transcended worlds. The gardens Amara protected in Cairo's shadows would one day bloom under alien suns. This hour-long journey with Yasmin through themes of hidden knowledge and environmental preservation shows us that the most valuable treasures are often growing right under our feet, dismissed as weeds by those who don't understand their worth. Just as Cairo's secret gardens transformed from hidden shame to global inspiration, what forgotten wisdom might be waiting in your own community? If this complete story kept you engaged for the full journey, that like button helps others discover these immersive tales. Subscribe for more long adventures that give you complete, satisfying stories every time. What surprised you most about Cairo's secret gardens? Or have you noticed plants thriving in unexpected places that might hold hidden significance? Perhaps you have family members with traditional knowledge worth preserving. Share your thoughts below. Your comment might inspire our next story. Thank you for investing a full journey with us in discovering how patience, dedication, and the courage to preserve wisdom can transform not just cities, but the world. Remember, sometimes the most powerful revolutions grow quietly from seeds.